sure it has increased in velocity. Ken Lazaruk is the man in charge of this afternoon's football game, and he and the other members of the officiating staff are moving into position as the Toronto Argonauts prepare to kick off to the Hamilton Tiger Cats. The Ticats, as the visiting team, had the option kicking, receiving, or choosing an end, and they have deferred that choice, Ron Lancaster, because of the wind to the second half.
Well, I think that's an important decision. This wind is really strong, so being the visiting team sometimes has an advantage. You're playing in Toronto's backyard, but you will decide the second half on how you're going to play it. So they're forced to go against the wind the first quarter, but that's a good move.
Hank Olisic preparing to kick off. Alvin Bailey and Jeff Treflin are back for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. The Argos in regular season play, winning 3 of 4 from the Ticats. But it should be noted that Hamilton's lone victory was recorded here at CNE Stadium. The ball bounces to Treflin at the 8-yard line. And Treflin is upset as he hits the 30, as Doug Landry, the linebacker, was downfield to make the tackle. Tom Porras getting final instructions as he heads out to lead the Ticat attack.
Well, we talked about Porras in the opening and what he has to do. Johnny Jones is averaging about 5 yards every time he carries the ball. Steve Jackson's there for his blocking. The receiver, Jacques Chapdelaine, is in there. DiPietro may not last the game because of his rib. Offensively, Lloyd Fairbanks fills for Jason Riley at the left guard position.
There was a lot of talk all week about the number of injuries that the Ticats do have and whether or not certain people would be able to go all the way. Jones is up to the 35-yard line before being stopped by Willie Pluss and Don Moon. Al Bruno is back on the sidelines for the first time since suffering that mild heart attack 6 weeks ago. As he told us last week in the interview in the game between Toronto and Winnipeg, he felt he would be back. He told us yesterday that he got the okay from the doctors. He said, "Thank you. I was going to be on the sidelines regardless."
Wasn't much doubt about that.
DiPietro, the intended receiver, well covered by Reggie Pleasant, and the Hamilton Tiger Cats will be forced to kick into the wind. So Bernie Ruoff on his first assignment for the Ticats since being released back on the 20th of September will be kicking into that strong breeze. Bernie worked out every day after being released, but I think he anticipates the Toronto Argonauts will be attempting to put a lot of pressure on him.
Oh, yeah, he hasn't seen a rush in a while. They're going to go after him right away, I believe, and he's going to have trouble getting any distance out of this kick.
Here they come. It's partially blocked, and it goes out of bounds at the 51-yard line. Ruoff was under the pressure he anticipated on his very first punt, and it was partially blocked. It only went 16 yards.
Well, what you're going to see, one, it was a high snap, and Daniels comes from the outside, and when Bernie dropped the ball, it turned sideways because of the wind. It came off to this side. He's very fortunate, because if he kicks it straight out, Daniels would have put it right in the end zone on him. That wind would have blown it right into the end zone.
Well, both coaches tried to downplay the importance of scoring first in the ball game. What do you think?
I think it's important for you when you have the wind to get some points.
Renfro has time. He can't get his receiver. Paul Pearson on the sidelines took a pretty good shot from Howard Fields. It will be 2nd and 10.
Well, Gilbert Renfro in his game against Hamilton so far, he's only thrown 1 touchdown, and they don't throw many interceptions, but he's thrown 3 against the Tiger Cats. Excellent set of receivers. I think they're going to have to get the ball to the wide receivers a little more to get the pressure off. Up front, Chris Schultz hurt his neck a little last week, but he's okay and ready to go.
They're hoping that Schultz will be able to go the entire game. Renfro is caught and dropped. There's a penalty flag downfield. Grover Covington sacks the Argo quarterback back at the 50-yard line, but there was a penalty flag downfield. It could be a pass interference call against the Ticats.
We'll have to wait and see. This could be a big break for the Argonauts.
A holding call against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And that means that the Toronto Argonaut offense will remain out there with a first down at the 41 of Hamilton.
On the first down that they had when Renfro threw the ball high over Pearson's head, he waited too long to throw the ball. He had Hudson open short and Pearson open a little behind him, and he held it so long, and when he did throw it, he got up in the wind and sailed over his head. So he's going to have to get rid of it quicker because Hamilton will get him.
Jeff Smith goes wide to the left. Gene Thomas splits to the right. All sorts of movement at the line of scrimmage, but there are no flags as Finnerty takes the pitch and runs out of bounds at the 30-yard line. That will be another first down. Howard Fields forced Finnerty out of bounds.
Well, we talk about those guys up front. They're going to have to get the job done for him. Covington's had 4 sacks against the Argonauts this year. Mike Walker has had none, but he had 17 on the season. Frank Robbins had an outstanding season. Ed Gadavakis fills in for the injured Leo Ezrins. Alvin Bailey on the corner. There's the guy I think they're going to work on today if they can get him one-on-one.
But both Zambiazzi and Robinson are playing hurt after missing last week's game against Calgary. Renfro dumps it off to Finnerty. Finnerty gets away from the first attempted tackle, and he'll be close to another first down. As a matter of fact, he is inside the 20, forced out of bounds at the 16-yard line, and that will be an Argo first down. And this was part of the Argo game plan to get the ball to that man, number 6, Gil the Thrill Finnerty.
Boy, they got the first one on the run, and that's what they needed to do. This time, Finnerty sits in there like he's going to block. He checks out, and just as he's being grabbed, looks like a sack. They get it to him, and that's what they do. They get it cleared out, and then as we see, they say he makes people miss, and he did that to Frank Robinson.
Back to the live action, 1st and 10 from the 16. There's the pitch to Finnerty. Finnerty started inside, goes to the outside, and he got that on his own to about the 8-yard line.
Boy, he sure did. They had that toss that they had just broken for about 10 yards, but the Ticats were waiting on it. He faked like he was going to come back inside, did all the work on his own, and then managed to escape outside.
Let me correct that. The 12-yard line, actually the 13 is where they position the ball. So it's a gain of 3. It will be 2nd and 7. The ball at the 13 of Hamilton. Renfro may try and run for a first down. He'll be close. Brought down by Ed Gadavakis. And depending upon the spot, they place the ball at the 9-yard line.
Well, you know, we talked about Renfro in the opening, how important he is. But this is the part that we have to see. Can he escape because of that knee injury and the knee brace that he's wearing? How has it affected his mobility? He did okay there, so must be able to move better than we think he can.
Lance Chomik was our Canada Lease MVP last Sunday with that final play field goal and the victory over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And he'll attempt to put the Argonauts on the board with a field goal try from 16 yards out. And without any difficulty, he puts it through as the Toronto Argonauts are first on the board with 11:20 remaining in this opening quarter. Argos were going after that one again, and they force another short kick by Ruoff that's picked up by Clash, and he gets it inside the Hamilton 50-yard line, where he's stopped by Pat Brady.
Boy, I'm surprised that one wasn't blocked. Boy, they really put the pressure on him. Willie Pless came through. It looked like this time, instead of coming from the outside, they put the middle rush on, and they almost got it.
Ruoff's first kick going just 16, his second 27, and that one traveling just 19 yards.
Well, it's going to be interesting when we turn around, too, to see what Alissi can do. With that wind is strong, and that ball doesn't even look like a punt coming off their foot.
Renfro has had good field position for every offensive series. This one starts from the Hamilton 48-yard line. Renfro throwing over the middle, and it was intended for Darrell Smith, but he was in a collision with 2 Hamilton defenders, one of them being Paul Bennett, the other Jim Rockford.
Now you see Rockford, Bennett, and Darrell Smith, they're all yapping at one another, and Darrell Smith wanted an interference call. Now, to me, it doesn't matter who the interference would have been on. The ball shouldn't have been thrown there. You got 2 guys covering him. When they're that deep, you better dump it off short. You had no chance of completing that one.
2nd and 10 from the 48 of the Ticats. 6:32 remaining in the first quarter. It's 3-0. The Toronto Argonauts in front. Intended again for Smith. The throw too high. And will we get a field goal attempt or a punt by Hank Alisik? Hank Alisik is coming into the ball game. So Coach Bob Wabilovich has decided to punt the ball, hoping, I'm sure, that Alisik will be able to angle it out of bounds down near the goal area.
Yeah, I would think, Don, that all he would want to do with this one is just to meet it, get it up in the air. I don't think he wants to try to kick this out of the stadium. He's kicking for field position, and if he kicks it in, they give him a point. They're only going to get about 10 yards or 15 yards on it.
He's trying to angle it out of bounds, but it will go into the end zone. And as it rolls out of the end zone, that's a 48-yard single for Hank Olisic, and Toronto moves in front 4-0. But Olisic was attempting to angle that one out of bounds, not put it into the end zone for the point.
Well, I just look over at the flags, which way they're blowing. He was kicking it to his left, and the wind is blowing to his right. That ball's not going to get out of there. I don't think he's happy with that. They only got a 13-yard net. Sure, they got a point, but they only gained 13 yards. The ball was on the 48.
Well, I'm a little surprised with the ball at the 48, and with that strong wind at his back. Chomik is capable of putting one through from 55 yards, as we saw last week against Winnipeg. Incomplete. Stapler, the intended receiver, on the sidelines, and I think that wind had effect on that throw of Tom Porras.
Boy, it sure did. He's throwing right into it. The wind is coming from that side of the field, and Tom Porras has a strong enough arm to get it out there. It just went out and died. Stapler had to catch it off his shoe tops if he would have got it.
Tom Porras certainly does not lack for confidence. 2nd and 10. Ticats at their own 35-yard line, trailing by a score of 4-0. The winner of this game will meet Winnipeg next Sunday in the Eastern Division Final at Winnipeg Stadium. Stapler, again, the intended receiver. The Tom Porras throw was well over his head. Bernie Ruoff gets another opportunity to kick into that wind.
And I look for him to come after him again. They're going to stay after Ruoff, I believe, because I think they can get one. They've come so close with the first two. I think they should stay after it, too.
Bob Obilovich was telling us before the game that he considers Darnell Clash one of the best he's ever seen at tracking down that ball, regardless of conditions. Again, another short kick. Clash takes it at the 45-yard line. Still on his feet on the sidelines, and he gets it inside the Hamilton 50-yard line again before being forced out of bounds by Pat Brady. That kick traveled only 32 yards. Fennerty cuts it back inside. He'll have a gain of 4, maybe 5 yards before being stopped by Ed Gadavekis. Gadavekis is playing that linebacking position in place of the injured Leo Ezerins.
And you know what's surprising? The Hamlin defense today, for the first time that I have seen them all year, normally to the wide side of the field they put Mike Walker and Grover Covington. Today they're putting Covington wide side and putting Walker on the short side, and that is a big change when you haven't played there all year.
A defensive adjustment for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Complete to Fennerty. Out of bounds with a first down at the 16. Forced out by Alvin Bailey.
You know, when you see Gil Fennerty catch the football, I read something in the paper about him the other day that every time I see him catch the ball now, I figure he's going to run out of bounds. He said his main objective to this year was to survive. He said he had never finished a season in college or up here. He hadn't played all the games because of either sickness or injury. But, you know, he's only about 190 pounds, and he's tall and slender. But I tell you, he does make people miss.
Vilovich said Fennerty could be a key factor this afternoon, and so far they have certainly utilized him in their offense. 1st and 10 from the 16. Renfro was looking for Tony Johns. They were trying to set up the screen. It will be 2nd and 10.
Had it set pretty well. Had the big lineman out in front of him, but the ball just was on the inside, and when he turned the other way. He turned his left, and the ball went to his right.
Hudson comes into the ball game, and Johns goes out. Al Bruno has been watching the opening 12 minutes of this football game from that angle. It's been played in his end of the football field.
I look for him to test Bailey out one of these times. He's been right up on top of Thomas. Let's see if they go after him.
Over the middle, it was intended for Pearson. He was being covered by Jim Rockford. Well, the Argos have been able to move deep into Hamilton territory on 3 occasions, but they haven't been able to cross the goal line. They had the same problems last week against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They had to rely upon Lance Chomik for 6 field goals. This will be his 2nd field goal attempt in this semifinal game.
I thought Bob Obilovich handled that question very well at the press conference yesterday. He said, you didn't score any touchdowns. He said, you know what? When you kick 6 field goals and win the football game, you'll take them every time.
But he would also like to see that offensive unit putting the ball into the end zone rather than having to rely on Chomik And Chomik is successful again, and it's now 7-0. Toronto leading Hamilton with 2:41 remaining in this opening quarter.
And what you say, Don, is exactly right, especially when you have the wind at your back that they've had and the field position that they've had. You need to score touchdowns because in about 3 minutes it's going to turn around, and then it's going to be how they can react against it.
Daniels trying to go wide. He's motioning to Darnell Clash to throw a block out there for him. He went all the way across the field to get the ball back to the 34-yard line.
Well, that was surprising. Don Moan, the linebacker, ran with the receiver down the field, and Daniels just stood in the flat, and it hit him right in the hands.
There's a shift up by Johnny Jones on the right.
Let's take a look at it. You see the ball on the way. He's just standing there doing nothing. You see Donnie Moan running with the receiver, which is just the opposite. I don't understand why he ran so far across the field. He may as well ran straight ahead and got after. He may have broke it, but hey, great field position and a good play.
He was yelling at people out in front of him to lay some blocks. They didn't develop. And the Argos take over with Renfro throwing to Smith down at the 27-yard line as Smith took that throw in front of Howard Fields. He's about 4 yards short of a first down. He was really directing traffic on that run back following the interception.
You know, that's his first interception this year. No wonder he didn't know where to go with it. But I'll tell you one thing, he was giving them orders.
3 on the 27.
The Tennessee State product originally came into the CFL with Winnipeg, was subsequently traded by the Blue Bombers to Montreal, along with James Hood, and then wound up in Toronto. Edwards, the intended receiver, and the throw was just a little behind him. He had to reach back to his shoulder pads to make the catch. He couldn't hang on.
I'll tell you, sooner or later they had to come after Bailey. Bailey made the big mistake. When a defensive back like himself, a corner, comes up inside out on a receiver, don't let the receiver inside. But you see the ball, it's catchable. The ball goes through his hands and off his shoulder pads, but the ball was there.
Well, the Argos have totally dominated this opening quarter, but all their scoring has been the result of 2 field goals by Lance Chomik and the single by Hank Olisic. The 3rd field goal attempt by Chomik, and it is good. 10-0. The Toronto Argonauts lead the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Lance Chomik against Winnipeg last week equaled the Toronto Argonaut record with 6 field goals. At the rate he's going in this opening quarter, that record will fall today.
Yeah, I'll tell you, that's unbelievable. He's kicked 3 already, you know, but the big thing right now is with 1 minute left, if they could get a turnover, then they get the field position going into the wind. But if they don't, and I don't think they will, they're going to end up with Hamilton. If they have to punt, they'll punt with it.
Forrest going to the sidelines. Too far for Steve Stapler. Even had he been able to make the catch, he would have been out of bounds.
Well, this doesn't surprise me that they're going to go after Clash and Pleasant. That's where Porras likes to throw the football. He's not afraid to throw the ball outside on the corners, but it's just difficult today because of the wind. But they're going to go after him. That's where he likes those guys outside. He likes the wide guys.
I think Bernie Ruoff is saying, come on, guys, get a first down. I don't want to punt into that wind again.
That's right. It's a big, big play for Hamilton.
Hand off to Jones. He won't get the first down. He is stopped at the 43-yard line. Selwyn Drain from his defensive halfback position came up to make the tackle. So with 28 seconds remaining in this opening quarter, the Ticats' Bernie Ruoff again will be kicking into that wind.
3rd down.
And once more, I think you'll see the Toronto Argonauts go after him. Chomik shouting encouragement from the sidelines. Up there. As a matter of fact, it drifts back towards the line of scrimmage and goes out of bounds at the 48-yard line. Only 20 yards, and that gives you an idea of just how strong that wind is.
Well, that ball was kicked, you know, the way a punter likes to hit it, to where it'll take off up, but it went up there and the wind just blew it right back at him.
19 yards on the kick.
14 seconds remaining. This is what the Toronto Argonauts have been able to do on their possessions in this opening quarter. starting out in Hamilton territory on 4 occasions.
I'd be tempted right here to lay one out. Let's go after it with 6 seconds left. See if we can get down the field.
Renfro may decide to run. He goes down as he crosses midfield. He is stopped at the 54 of the Hamilton Tiger Cats by Ben Zambiazzi and Johnny Lewis, and that is also the final play of the opening quarter here at CNE Stadium in Toronto.
The kicking game of Lance Chomik proves to be effective as Toronto takes an early 10-0 lead. Hamilton needs to get into this game quickly or they're going to find themselves playing the final game of the season. We'll return to the 1987 Eastern semifinal between Hamilton and Toronto right after the break.
Bob Obilovich, the winningest coach in Argonaut history. Al Bruno back on the sidelines for the first time since suffering that mild heart attack back in September following a game against Calgary. And he'll be a guest at halftime. We'll get to know the head man of the Hamilton Tiger Cats just a little better. Warren Hudson has the first down for Toronto.
It's good to see Bruno back. He was a lot of fun at that press conference yesterday, wasn't he? He was wound up.
Well, he was more interested in talking about the medical treatment than he was about this football game. He was even showing some of his scars to the members of the media. First and 10 intended for Pearson, incomplete.
This is going to be an interesting call. It's going to be an interesting call. I think they're going to call interference on Toronto because that's what it is. It was a pick.
Gene Thomas appeared to be the man that picked Howard Fields.
Forward pass interference. Toronto number 29. Decline. Second down.
Well, they called number 29 of Toronto. I think they meant number 9 because they don't have a 29 out there offensively.
And Thomas probably wishes it was 29 because he really got smacked.
It will be second and 10 from the 52-yard line. Handoff to Finnerty, fumbles the football, and it's recovered by Johnny Lewis. The second time that Finnerty has been unable to handle that exchange from quarterback Gilbert Renfro, and on both occasions he has lost the football. First to Mike Walker, this time to Johnny Lewis.
Well, you know how turnovers will affect the football game, and especially when you're going against the wind and turn it over at midfield, you're asking for problems. Let's take a look at it. It's just a draw play. He just dropped that. That's his fault.
Back to the live action, a sideline pattern intended for Stapler. And Selwyn Brain may have got a hand in there to deflect that away.
I usually blame quarterbacks for fumbles on, exchanges between the center and the running back, but on that particular play, the ball was put in there. Finnerty was looking downfield, trying to switch it, and it just slipped out.
Second and 10. The Ticats at the Toronto 50 line. 10-0 is the score. The Argos leading. All 10 points coming in the opening quarter. Porras is throwing deep, and it's incomplete. Well, Johnny Jones, the intended receiver, and it was almost intercepted by the safety, Jake Bond.
Sorry about that, but what we talked about in the opening, the Toronto Argonauts always play the deep. They don't give you big plays. We said Tom Porras has got to be patient. Now, he only needed 10 yards, yet he threw it 30 into double coverage.
Well, Bernie Ruoff will be kicking with the win for the first time. Will the Argos still try and go after it? Flash mishandles the ball back at the 13-yard line, and he wisely decides simply to cover up. You're watching the Eastern semifinal on CBC television, your Grey Cup network, coast to coast.
Now what you see is Brown goes up in the air, Tony Johns hits him, and now Brown has no control as to where he's going to come down now, so really he is blocked into the kicker, and that's why Al Bruno was out on the field. He was a little bit upset, and I think he had every right to be.
First down, Argos.
But his complaints fall on deaf ears because the Toronto Argonauts retain possession at the 54 of the Ticats. Completes to Paul Pearson, and he's taken out of bounds by Terry Lenny at the 47.
Well, what happens now with Les Brown out of the ball game? Howard Fields moves to the corner, and then Terry Laney takes Howard Fields' spot in the secondary. And Les isn't coming right back in. I thought he might be right back, but he's sitting on the bench down there, so maybe he's hurt a little more than we think. But they need him in the ball game.
Paul Pearson having some problems with his helmet. He gets it readjusted.
We could lend him the one Scott has.
See those helmets, you wonder how guys play with them, don't you?
I sure do.
Fennerty waiting for some blocking. Warren Hudson was out in front of him but couldn't take care of Mike Walker.
Hudson made his block. He went after Frank Robinson, but when Frank forced it back in, Walker was there to make the tackle. They're getting on to that toss.
Not a bad afternoon's work so far for Gil Fennerty. 8 carries for 56 yards, and we still have 8:53 remaining in the first half. Les Brown, I'm sure much to the relief of Al Bruno, is up and walking around at that Ticat bench, an indication that he will be back.
You know, that was a great kick of Illicic's a while ago against the wind. I mean, you put it up in the air 50 yards against this one, you're doing something.
Well, he has a tremendously strong leg. Let's see how he does in this one. Another great kick. This one will sail into the end zone. And the Ticats are going to let it go for a single point. 46 yards that time. The kick by Hank Ilicic, who undoubtedly has something to prove this afternoon here at CNE Stadium. And he has easily outkicked his arch rival from Hamilton, Bernie Ruoff, so far.
You know, most punters and kickers use technique, but on these particular balls against the wind, Ilicic is just driving it as hard as he can hit it, and both times he's had success.
It was interesting prior to the game, all 3 kickers, Ilicic, Chomick, and Ruoff, were standing out at midfield for about 10 or 15 minutes, having a rather long discussion, talking about the wind and conditions here at CNE Stadium. Ken Hobart has replaced Tom Porras at quarterback. Johnny Jones struggles out to the 38-yard line. That will be a gain of 3 yards. That was a lot of work for Jones to pick up 3 yards, and Ken Hobart has taken over from Tom Porras.
I think you were trying to get me to say something about those kickers, weren't you? I'm always giving the kickers a hard time, so I might as well say it. They were together out there because they're the only ones that can't understand one another. I get in trouble with these kickers.
They're a breed unto themselves. Complete to Jones. He'll get the first down and is upset at the 54-yard line.
Hobart's pass completed to Johnny Jones.
Boy, that was an excellent job by Johnny Jones because Daniels comes up and tries to cut him. Hobart back to throw. Jackson makes the block. Now we got Jones in the flat. Now once he tries to block him instead of wrapping the arms, and he just bounces off. Excellent balance. He almost broke that.
And the guy who came all the way back to make that tackle was Dan Sellers. Only the second first down of the game for the Ticats. Here's a reverse with Champion. Good coverage by Willie Pless and Selwyn Drain. Ken Hobart was out front trying to throw a block. He was telling us that they were going to run that reverse prior to the game, and he said, watch me block on that.
And I watched him, and he missed him. But we're going to get a look at it. You see Doug Landry now. There's the toss. He comes in. Steve Jackson, boy, good block. That's all you want, a little bit of contact. Now, Champion's out there. I don't know how safe he feels with the quarterback as his lead blocker, but I feel safe with Hobart.
Don't be surprised if you see Jackson throw a pass or two this afternoon from a toss. Hobart was looking to throw but didn't get a chance as Glenn Kolka was there to bring him down. And Kolka takes a bit of a shot as he celebrates.
You know, Kolka's made a big difference to this Argonaut team. You know, he hadn't played much football till he got here, but he's really fit in well. And on that particular play, they brought Daniels on that halfback blitz and forced Hobart up in, and Kolka's there waiting on him right where he should be.
6:11 remains in this first half. 11-0. The Argos lead Hamilton. Good kick by Ruoff. Flash goes back to his own 5-yard line. Lee Knight is after him and throws him out of bounds at the 9. A 50-yard kick and a 4-yard return. Toronto leads 11-0 with 5:53 remaining in this first half. I'm a little surprised, aren't you, Ron, that Darnell Clash didn't let that punt sail into the end zone?
Yeah, I really am. You know, 11-0 lead and getting the ball out to the 35, giving 1 point would be great. Clash thinks he can break everything, but I still think you give him the 1.
Fennerty goes out of bounds up at the 17-yard line, but there's a penalty flag back at the line of scrimmage.
Holding. Toronto number 51.
51, okay.
The holding call against Randy Ambrosi, who is playing that right guard slot.
See, Kelvin Prunster's going to end up on Mike Walker. He got him by the jersey. I thought they called the holding call on, but they called Randy Ambrosi. But now we get a half the distance to the goal line penalty. Now you're really backed up. Now you're inside the 5. That's why that 1 point could be a big one yet.
Yes, if the Argos don't pick up a first down here, the Ticats are going to get the football back in the best field position they will have enjoyed this afternoon. Grover Covington drops Gilbert Renfro right at the line of scrimmage.
I don't know whether that was a design play quarterback draw or not, but, you know, there's a lot of guys you don't want to leave unblocked. Grover Covington's one of them.
Covington, the leader on the Hamilton Tiger Cats in quarterback sacks this season. 4 of those sacks being recorded against the Toronto Argonauts. Covington, Mike Walker, Johnny Lewis, and Rod Skillman comprising that Hamilton front 4. Second and 15. Through to the sidelines. Nobody near that throw. There was a mix-up, obviously, between the quarterback and the intended receiver, Paul Pearson.
Yeah, Paul standing down there with his hands on his hips looking back at Gilbert. Gilbert threw it to the out. Paul started outside. He planted a foot, don't turn upfield. Just he turned up, the ball went sailing out of bounds. So he's looking back at him.
Jeff Treflin is the lone man back. He's at midfield as Hank Olisic kicks from the end zone.
I can't believe he's going to get it that far. I mean, we're talking 15. I mean, we're talking 70 yards.
It's blocked. Terry Lenny got to it, and it's recovered by Terry Lenny for the touchdown.
Well, we talked about that single point. Well, I'll tell you, you know, 35-yard line is a lot better, but when you're kicking from your end zone, you've got to protect it. Terry Laney came from the outside, not only blocked it, but was there to pick up the touchdown. So now the Ticats are right back in the ball game.
With 4:13 remaining in the first half, Terry Lenny blocking the Hank Olisic punt attempt and recovering the ball himself.
Coming from the bottom of the screen, number 37 went right around Doug Landry and got the hands up, batted it down, and scores 6.
So now the Hamilton Tiger Cats line up in formation for the extra point for Bernie Ruoff that will bring them within 4 of the Toronto Argonauts. And although it was partially blocked, it goes between the uprights, and it's 11-7 as we take another look at that blocked punt by Terry Lenny.
Good snap. Landry's got to look outside quick. He didn't get out fast enough. You saw him standing in, protect the middle first. But while you're in the middle, you still have to look to your outside. And if someone's coming, you better get him. Well, you just can't afford this. You can get a good look at it. Laney's in there to bat that ball away. So what was an 11-0 lead is now 11-7.
Somewhat appropriate, I would suggest, that the Hamilton defensive unit comes up with that touchdown because they kept the Ticats in the ball game during the first quarter when it was all Toronto.
Well, they sure did. If you think back when we had that graphic on the screen of the Toronto Argonaut possessions, the worst that they had was their own 47, and yet never got a touchdown. That Hamilton defense had kept them in the game, as you say, so it's good that they get the touchdown.
4:13 remaining in this first half. The winner of this Eastern semifinal will face the Winnipeg Blue Bombers next Sunday at Winnipeg Stadium for the divisional championship and the right to advance to the Grey Cup. And of course, you'll see the Grey Cup right here on CBC television. Gil Fenerty on this kickoff return. He is stopped at the 32-yard line by David Sauvé. A 23-yard run back by Gil Fenerty. Well, we speculated about the wisdom of Darnell Clash letting that long punt by Bernie Ruoff sail into the end zone for a single point, thus getting the ball back at the 35-yard line rather than scrimmaging at the 9, and that may prove to be a very big play in this football game.
Boy, it sure might, you know, because 11-1 lead is a lot better than 11-7. I don't like the chances, but hey, that's a risk you take. Clash probably thought he could break it for 100, but it just didn't work out.
Over the head of Paul Pearson, it will be 2nd and 10. Paul Bennett was covering.
They've had a couple of plays of that and been successful today with Pearson going down and breaking to the outside, but when you see Paul Bennett up that close to the line of scrimmage, they've changed the defense and they're going to take it away from him.
Second and 10. Renfro has managed to hit only 8 of 18 pass attempts. He's got his pass completion to Paul Pearson. That's a big play up to the 50-yard line.
You know, sometimes you feel like you can throw the ball through the eye of a needle, and that's just about what he did there. He had Thomas hooked outside and Pearson hooked inside, but watch this ball. Watch it go right through there. Right through 2 white jerseys into Pearson's hand. Pearson's got very excellent concentration and makes the catch.
Pearson makes those clutch receptions for the Argos. He has over the years.
Sure has, and you know, let's face it, he's been in the league now about 10 years, so he's lost a few steps, so he doesn't have the speed to go deep. But when you need a reliable receiver, you need him in the middle, and he is one of them.
He's one of the Argos who was a member of that 1983 Grey Cup championship squad. The others, punter Hank Olisic, linebacker Don Moan, center Ian Beckstead, tackle Kelvin Prunster, guard Dan Ferroni, and that's it.
That's it. Well, we look at the defensive unit. When we think of the number of young people that they have on that particular team, it's no surprise that they've had that big a changeover.
Mike Walker being assisted off to the Hamilton bench. He'll be replaced by David Sauvé, but I'm sure Walker won't be out for more than 1 or 2 plays. 1st and 10 Toronto. The Argos at their own 51-yard line. 11-7 is the score. 3:03 remaining in the half. Renfro throwing the screen to Tony Johns. They had the blocking set up, but there's a penalty flag on the play. .253 the time remaining. You're watching the Eastern CFL on CBC, your Grey Cup network, coast to coast. A penalty against Toronto on that last play, an illegal block by Darrell Smith. As a result, the big gain by Tony Johns is wiped out. And now Gil Fenerty is dropped for even another loss by Howard Fields.
Well, Howard Fields, that was an excellent tackle because they swing Fenerty out of there, and what they want to do is get him one-on-one with a guy because they figure he can get by him. Fields didn't go for it, brought him down for another loss. So now 2nd and a bunch.
2:35 is the time remaining in this first half. 2nd and 25 for the Argos. They are back at their own 36-yard line. Renfro's being chased by Walker. And Walker with a dive just gets the foot to pull him down. So the Argos will be kicking with 2:17 remaining in the half. Bob Ovilovich said that if Renfro had problems, he wouldn't hesitate on inserting Danny Barrett into the ballgame.
Well, this was a drop-back pattern, and when the quarterback runs out of there, your linemen don't know where you are, and you saw Kelvin Prunster, the tackle, looking inside, and all of a sudden he turned around, and Walker's nowhere to be found, and it's not his fault. Just a good play by Walker.
Bailey and Treflin are both back for this 3rd down kick by Hank Olisic. He had his last one blocked. This time gets good protection and a pretty good kick into the wind, although the ball bounces back towards the line of scrimmage and is taken out of bounds by Terry Lenny. There's also a penalty flag. Landry and Paul Bennett having words on the sidelines. That kick traveling just 28 yards. It appeared to be a pretty good kick initially, then the wind caught it and it bounced back towards the line of scrimmage, and we still have some pushing and shoving going on involving Les Brown and Dan Sellers. Landry is also in the middle of it all.
What's kind of funny there is Dan Sellers and Doug Landry, both in the scuffle down there, both ex-Tiger Cats.
There's no infraction on the play. First down.
So the Ticats scrimmage from the Toronto 53-yard line with 1:54 remaining in this first half. Ken Hobart, who replaced Tom Porras on the last series for the Ticats, continues at quarterback. The ball is fumbled, but the whistle had gone.
It was kind of unbelievable. Landry come through and made the hit on Jones. The ball came loose, and he was down when the whistle blew, but when Culkin reached for the ball, he kicked it right back to him.
Jackson never had a chance. Landry was through so quickly.
No, there was no chance. He came right around the center just as quick as anybody.
Well, we said that the Ticats do have that toss to Jackson from which he throws in their repertoire. But Hobart is going to throw well over the head of Steve Stapler.
We had a misread against. Stapler went down, went deep, and then came back to the flag, and Hobart threw it inside.
Warren Hudson is the injured Toronto player.
Okay, let's go.
He's going to head off to the dressing room for repairs. It appears as though he may be cut about the mouth.
Yeah, he got it on that punt when all that schmozzle was taking place down there. He was down on his knees.
It's blocked. Rodney Harding gets to it, and the ball rolls out of bounds at the 43-yard line.
You know what's surprising, Don? When you get into big football games, the kicking game becomes so important. We've had 2 blocked punts and a partially blocked punt. I mean, this should not happen when you're in playoff football.
Well, we said at the start of our telecast today that the kicking game could be extremely important.
So it looks like Harding's blocked, and then all of a sudden, Johnson and him, he doesn't take him out of there, and he just shoves Johnson out of the way and blocks it. That's a big break for the Argonauts.
He got those hands up high.
So he just comes right in, just wasn't blocked properly. That's about as simple as you can put that one.
So the Argos take over 1st and 10 at the Hamilton 43-yard line. The pass complete to Paul Pearson. He can't get away from Mike Walker. Grover Covington was through quickly to dump quarterback Gilbert Renfro, but he was fortunately able to dump it off to Paul Pearson just in time.
You know, you talk about pressure. Watch how fast. This is a design play. It's a screen. They're supposed to bump Grover. They didn't do it. But when he gets rid of the ball, he takes a heck of a hit. But you talk about speed. Mike Walker ran him down from the defensive tackle position. Mike Walker got great speed for a guy 278 pounds.
A loss of 1. It's 2nd and 11. Complete. Smith has a first down to the 30-yard line. Stopped there by Ben Zambiazzi.
Wow, you see Jim Rockford with his hands in the air. He's really disgusted with himself. He allowed Darrell Smith to get inside of him again, and Renfro is right on the money.
And remember, at halftime, we'll get to meet Darrell Smith, the Argos' leading receiver.
See, Rockford's right on his back, but the ball's there. It's too late. You can't let him in there. That's why he was so disappointed.
1st and 10 at the 30-yard line. Renfro going to the end zone for Thomas. Incomplete, penalty flag. Interference by Alvin Bailey on Gene Thomas, and it will be 1st and goal, Toronto.
Well, it was only a matter of time till they went to that. I mean, sooner or later, he has one-on-one. He's got to try it, and there was no doubt about this call. Bailey had a hold of him, and he had him good.
Pass interference, Hamilton, number 29, first down.
What a lift that will give the Argos if they are able to put it in the end zone. Only 40 seconds remains till halftime.
You can see right there, Bailey had his left hand hooked right on his shoulder pads. There's no doubt about that call. Thomas had a step or two on him. The ball was thrown very well.
The Argos first and goal at the 1-yard line. Johns and Fennerty lined up behind Renfro. Fennerty gets it. Touchdown. Penalty flag. The call against Hamilton, the touchdown will stand. Offside against the Ticats.
Well, we see what block punts can do to you. The Ticats score immediately on there as Laney blocks it and recovers. Harding blocks the punt and sets this up. Fennerty on the lead by Tony Johns. Fennerty just goes up and over. Good job up front by the Argonauts.
So with 37 seconds remaining in the half, the Argos get back the touchdown. They gave up on that block punt by Terry Lenny. Lance Chomick will try and make it 18-7.
What the problem is, the Argonauts are one short. They're going to get called for a delay of the game. And what it probably is...
Time count violation, Toronto number 4.
...is when Hudson got injured and left the field, he's going to be on that special team. He's our special teams player of the year. So their backup probably didn't go into the football game.
So that means the conversion attempt by Lance Chomick will come from the 17-yard line instead of the 12. He puts it through, but there's another penalty flag at the line of scrimmage.
I think this will be offside Hamilton. This will score. This will count.
Offside, Hamilton declined.
And that is the case. So with 37 seconds remaining in the half, it's 18-7. Toronto leading Hamilton.
I we see Tony Johns, the lead blocker. Somebody to hit. Just run, Tony, and get out of his way. Fennerty goes up and over everybody. Touchdown, and on the extra point, Les Brown was the guy outside. He jumped the gun.
Well, the Argos appeared to be down just a little after Lenny blocked that punt. And Hamilton got right back into the football game after the Argos had dominated through the opening quarter. That will give Bob Obilovich and his double blue a big lift heading into the dressing room.
Well, the football's a game of momentum anyway, you know, and the Argonauts had it early, and as you say, when the Ticats blocked that punt and scored, everything seemed to lift for the Tiger Cats. But when you allow a man to come in and block the punt, you give that momentum away, and now it comes down, how long can you keep the momentum on your side?
As you said, in the first half of the ball game, each side has been able to block a punt. The Argos also partially blocked the initial kick by Bernie Ruoff. So they have been going after the two punters.
Boy, when you talk about things that give coaches gray hair, you know, you talk about the special teams and how you have to block for that punter, and yet we've had punts blocked today in a playoff game, more than we've seen in any game we've done this year.
Olisic hangs it high in the wind, taken by Wayne Lee, and he is stopped almost immediately at the 33-yard line.
33 seconds. I think Hobart should try to score. I don't think he should sit on this. I think he's got the wind at his back. I think he ought to, let's go downfield and see if we can get some points.
Well, he tried to go deep earlier in this quarter, unsuccessfully. Johnny Jones takes the throw. He won't get the first down. Selwyn Drain and Willie Pless combined to stop the Hamilton running back. 26 seconds still remain in the half.
That's it. Good move. He's got him up on the line of scrimmage. Go to the hurry-up offense. Let's go. I mean, you got to try to score when you got the win.
Champion takes it out of bounds for a first down at the 45.
He's only used 6 seconds, and he's got out of bounds, so the clock won't start now till the snap. He may get it down there for Ruoff to try a field goal.
Well, the Ticats would certainly like to come away with something before the half ends.
Sure, get that momentum switch. Get something as you go into the locker room at halftime, something to build on for that second half.
1st and 10, the ball at the 45. Ticats trail 18-7. Hobart can't find a receiver open. He'll run it. And he has a first down with 11 seconds remaining. Time for 2 more plays.
And Hobart does what he does best. That's get outside with the football, and that wide field opened up for him, and he took advantage of it and wisely stepped out of bounds.
Ted Schmitz, who was the interim head coach of the Ticats during Al Bruno's absence, discussing with the boss what they should do on these 2 plays. 11 seconds remaining. They can't put it into the end zone. They'd like to get a first down. Stapler was the intended receiver. 6 seconds remaining, and there's a penalty flag as there was some pushing and shoving back at the line of scrimmage involving Gerald Bayless.
This is going to be interesting to see who this calls on.
Objection of conduct. Toronto number 99.
See, this is going to give him 10 yards and a chance to kick a field goal. It's another, Obilovich won't be happy about that one.
Well, when Bayless was disqualified last week against Winnipeg, Obilovich said, "What a stupid play." I think he may have comments of a similar nature this afternoon.
Right, with 6 seconds left, Ruoff's going in, and this, I mean, he's only going to be kicking this about 52 yards. He can reach it, and without the 10-yard penalty, he's got no chance.
And if he doesn't put it between the uprights, it might go into the end zone for a single point. So they could at least come away with something in the final seconds. Penalty flag. And the kick is good. And again, more pushing and shoving downfield. Ken Lazaruk quickly rushes in and throws another penalty flag. Emotions running very high between these 2 teams, and this is where the officials have to step in and start throwing those flags. Al Bruno right out onto the field trying to get his players off to the sidelines. There was a penalty flag initially on the successful field goal by Bernie Ruoff.
I think Toronto was offside. I think they'll decline this and take the 3 points.
1 second still remains. And then there was a subsequent penalty flag thrown by Ken Lazaruk with all that pushing and shoving taking place downfield.
Offside. Toronto declined. Objection of conduct. 51. Field goal stands.
Brady was assessed the objectionable conduct call.
Argonauts lead 18.
So that will take the football out to the 45-yard line, but with 1 second remaining on the clock, it's not likely it'll do much damage. Glenn Kulka, the defensive end who was out there, he and Ralph Scholes were engaged in a bit of pushing and shoving.
You know what the official needs to do? Get those 2 captains together right now at the end of this halftime. Look, first time we have any problem, we'll throw you out of here, and then they won't have any problem in the second half.
Gilbert Renfro simply drops to 1 knee to run out the clock, and the first half ends with the Argos in front by 8 points.
If he wasn't in between us, then you allow to take Landry.
It's 18-10 Toronto heading to the half, thanks to that last-second touchdown by a diving Gil Fenerty. Now, although the Argos have an 8-point lead, they are by no means playing their best football. The special teams mistakes and the costly penalties are keeping Hamilton in the game. Neither offense is really creating the big play or finishing the drives, so it's defense and kicking that ended up being the Argos' strengths going into the second half. Third quarter action is coming up.
Here in the Maple Leaf Kitchens, we've been working hard to make our very best hot.
In the first half, the Argos had the ball 18 minutes and 30 seconds as opposed to 11:30 for the Ticats. Toronto in that first quarter totally dominating, but they were prevented from getting into the end zone by a very stout defensive display by the Ticats inside their own 30-yard line. Gilbert Renfro completed 12 of 22 for 109 yards. Tom Porras started the game for Hamilton. He hit on just 4 of 10 for 15 yards before being replaced by Ken Hobart, who completed 4 of 6 for 31 yards. The Bernie Ruoff will be kicking off into the wind to start the third quarter. Dwight Edwards picks the ball up at his 30-yard line. And Edwards returns it to the 49 before being stopped by Alvin Bailey.
Well, Hamilton's calling on that defense again. They want them to shut them down when they have the wind at their back so that they can get things going. But I think that Hamilton's got a little more going for it now with Hobart in the game against the wind, because if he doesn't have the pass, he'll take it and run. That may help him. But for right now, the defense got to come up big.
The Argos, with the wind at their back in the opening quarter, were unable to put it into the end zone. They would like to explode in this third quarter and try and put the game out of reach, because the Ticats will have the wind going home, and that's really what every team looks for when they have the choice. Paul Pearson was the intended receiver. He was being covered by Ed Gadavekis. I know you as a player always wanted that wind at your back in the fourth quarter.
Well, I look at the scoreboard. You're down 8 points. And I didn't care if I was down 3 touchdowns. I want the win going home because I got to know what I'm going to do to win it. And, you know, you're down 8. Even if you give up a touchdown, you can still come back and win it. So the defense has got to play a big factor for you.
Warren Hudson, who was injured late in that second quarter, is back in the ball game. Renfro completes. Oh, no, Paul Pearson appeared to have it, and as he went down, it just slipped away from him, but he was wide open.
He tripped just as the ball was in the air, and he's trying to gauge it. Watch with the ball throw. He starts to stumble just a little right here, and it's a little bit behind him, and he couldn't hold it. But Renfro stood in the pocket and threw it well. Paul will be disappointed.
Hank Olisic stands at the 35-yard line for this third down kick. Bailey and Treflin are back. Forced back to his own 5-yard line. And that might have been another case of let the ball go into the end zone for a single point.
Well, we're going to find out anyway, because Hamilton's starting deep.
A 56-yard punt by Hank Olisic, a 10-yard return, and Tom Porras is back in at quarterback for the Ticats. Hamilton at its own 15-yard line. Johnny Jones breaks 1 tackle, breaks 2, and then is stopped at the 20-yard line. Gerald Bayless and Doug Landry combined to bring him down. Tom Porras started the ball game, gave way to Ken Hobart in the second quarter. Porras is back here in the third.
Well, I figured we were going to see Hobart in the third quarter, so a little bit surprised at this because he has that dimension of running against the wind when you want to control the football. But Tom can throw it. Now he's got to do it. He's 2 of 10 or whatever he is. He's got to get hot.
Second and 5. He throws, it's intercepted. Don Moon came back to grab that ball as it was bobbled, and he made a diving interception at the 32-yard line.
Tom Porras made the right read. It's that slip screen out to Johnny Jones, and they covered it with a linebacker, which means DiPietro's going to have one-on-one coverage inside. But I think what happens on this play, this ball's going to go through his hands, and he's wearing those rib protectors. Let's take a look, see if it bounces off of it, because it hit him right in the stomach. It hit him there, and then the ball popped up in the air, and a heck of an interception. But I think it hit it and bounced out of there on him.
Whatever. The Toronto Argonauts have the football at the 32. Tony Johns takes that little swing pass, and he takes it out of bounds with a first down at the 15. Forced out by Les Brown.
Well, they had success in the first half running the toss back into the weak side. This time they throw a little screen, slip screen. You see 23 going out. The ball's dropped. Now you see out in front of them. There's Dan Ferroni leading them downfield, getting the block from Finnerty, and they're down on the 15.
Jeff Smith goes wide to the left. The pitch to Finnerty. He cuts it back inside, and he'll have about 3, maybe 4 yards.
That's a good job of cutting it back inside because Hamilton was waiting for him wide. So what he did is just turned to the first hole.
So if he came here, then going out at 46, you should have been over here on this side of that guy because you don't care about him. If he can't pass him, then you got to come out across. So that you get
what he's telling him is that the center has the guy on him. The guard has that tackle, but when he loops around, you sit deep. If he goes around, you go pick him up.
On second down, Renfro looking down in the goal area. Incomplete. Pearson, the intended receiver again, and it was almost intercepted by Howard Fields.
So once again, the Hamilton defense did the job.
And Renfro is limping as he heads off to that Toronto bench. He missed a good portion of the season as a result of an injury.
It happened right here and against this football team.
Chomik has hit on all 3 field goal tries. This kick will come from 18 yards out. 11:32 remains in the third quarter. A high snap. Ryan pulls it down, gets it pinned in time for Chomik to put it through. So it's now 21-10 with 11:27 left in the third quarter.
Well, third down and about 1.5 inches. Hobart has the big hole, and then all of a sudden that ball flies out of there, and again, who's on the spot but Daniels? So he's come up with a couple big plays, and that's a big turnover. When you have a second down and 1 and get stuffed, it forced that play and the turnover, and now the Argonauts are in business again.
The big thing about that play is that the Ticats had a first down. They would have been able to use another 2 minutes or so off the clock, even if they didn't score. But now they give the ball back, and the Argonauts are certainly in position to score because this should be within the field goal range of Lance Chomik if they can't put it into the end zone. And Finnerty is stopped on his first attempt by Mike Walker and Ben Zambiazi.
Oh, that's the draw play that they've tried to run today. One time they fumbled it. This time the Hamilton Tiger Cat defense stuffed it. So it's now 2nd and 10. Didn't get anything with it.
2nd and 10.
Jeff Smith goes wide left. Gene Thomas comes out to the right. 8:34 remains in the third quarter. Renfro trying to put it up. He manages to throw the ball downfield well over the head of Gene Thomas, but he was being tied up by Grover Covington.
I'll say he was tied up. He was very fortunate to get that ball off at all. You know, when they got hold of you back there, sometimes you're better off to just go ahead and pull it down and eat the ball and take the loss, because if that ball's tipped and goes up in the air, you can get an interceptor. But he was fortunate and got it over everybody. Looking downfield, here comes the rush. Covington got hold of him first, then Walker's there, and an incomplete pass.
Well, Ilisic will be trying to angle this one out of bounds. High snap that he has to pull down. It'll bounce into the end zone, and this time Bailey wisely lets the ball roll into the end zone. He ducked to make sure it sailed over his head. A 47-yard single point for Hank Ilisic. Again, you saw the effect the wind had on that ball. He was trying to kick it against the wind over to the sidelines to his left, but the wind simply kept it in the field of play.
Yeah, I just look up at those flags right above the scoreboard. They're blowing right at us, so it's a very, very strong wind coming out of that corner. It'll be very hard to kick it out of bounds on that side of the field. They're straight out.
The Tiger Cats on their own 35.
As we said earlier, the 3 kickers prior to the game were at midfield discussing the wind, and as Lance Chomik said, this is usually the way the wind blows at CNE Stadium, but it was much calmer then. Over the middle to Steve Jackson. He's stopped at the 42-yard line by Doug Landry, the middle linebacker.
Steve Jackson. Landry made the hit.
The Ticats haven't had a great deal of success in their last 6 possessions.
7-yard gain.
An interception and a fumble.
On the 42.
To go along with that block punt. That's 3 big plays.
Only the one positive result, that Bernie Ruoff field goal. Good fake by Porras, throwing deep down the sideline. Stickley's got it.
Well, second down, short yardage. You know, they're looking man-to-man coverage, trying to stop the run. You figure a team going against the wind will try to run. good play-action fake, and Stapler had to step on him. Lays it out there. Stapler just runs under it. You see the ball, that wind knocking it around. But Stapler, as you see, he's got the step on Clash. Big play.
Gives you some indication as to just how strong a throwing arm Porras does have.
Not only strong, but it's quick. He can get the ball off in a hurry.
A 36-yard completion to Steve Stapler. This time the give is to Jones, and Jones gets to the 25-yard line. A gain of 5. On that last play, an excellent fake by Tom Porras just momentarily froze those defensive backs, and Stapler was able to get downfield. And Stapler in this third quarter has played the prominent role you suggested he might play at the start of our telecast.
Well, I think now they've got to get Champion into it, or they're going to start rolling the defense over to help Clash, but he's got him one-on-one again.
And who's got it? A penalty flag on the play. Darnell Clash managed to pull it away from Stapler, but I think they're giving the receiver the catch. They're going to call interference, I believe, against Toronto.
I think he had it anyway. I think he caught it when he went to the ground. He grabbed him, but he does get hit. It doesn't really matter. Let's see.
Forward pass interference. Toronto number 10. First down, Hamilton.
Well, it really wouldn't matter, but you get him. He's got him one-on-one. There's no help down here. Drive him off. Try to get him going deep. Now stop. Hook back. Now Clash is going to fight him for it. The ball is there.
Back to the line of action. First and 10 over the head of Chapdelaine. He's back after a very unusual accident. He was attempting to fix part of his daughter's clothing. She wasn't wearing it at the time, I should point out.
I'm glad to hear that.
With an axe, of all things. He said, I didn't have a screwdriver, trying to pry one of those clasps off the piece of material, and he accidentally sliced a tendon in his thumb.
You know, you hear guys missing football games for a lot of reasons. I've never heard that one before.
Second and 10. Over the middle to Jones to the 5-yard line. Landry is there to make the tackle. The Ticats short of the first down. They're about 3 yards shy of a first down. Decision time. Bob Wabilovich waiting to see what Hamilton will do.
Well, what was surprising here, they was anticipating man-to-man. They got a zone defense, forced them to drop it underneath to Johnny Jones, so they come up about 2 yards short. So Ruoff's going to kick the field goal.
5:26 remains in the third quarter. I think Al Bruno will be very happy to get some points in this third quarter going against the wind. Ruoff puts it through. That makes it 22-13. So we've got a great Eastern semifinal going here at CNE Stadium.
22-13.
Argo fullback Warren Hudson will have some memories of the intense rivalry in this Eastern Conference semifinal, specifically memories of Ben Zambiazi's elbow, which late in the first half got underneath Hudson's face guard and split his lower lip in T form. It's been stitched up, but there's some concern that Hudson may require some plastic surgery. Don?
Well, Hudson is playing in this second half after going to the dressing room for those repairs. Dwight Edwards back to his own 15-yard line on this kickoff return, looking for some blocking help, but coming through to make the tackle is Jeff Treflin, and Edwards is stopped at the 33-yard line.
That's a pretty good kick against the wind. Ruoff really got the foot into that, drove it deep, so they can gain a couple yards on it. Normally Toronto would have it at the 35. This time it's at 33.
Robert Renfro earlier had his foot stepped on by Mike Walker. He thought that Danny Barrett might come in at quarterback, but Wabilovich has opted to stay with Renfro.
Well, if they're going to make a change, they ought to tell Danny, because, I mean, he's been standing there a long time, and it's a cold day to stand around.
First and 10 from the 33-yard line. Paul Pearson makes the catch, and Bailey grabs him. Out at the 38-yard line, that will be a gain of 5. Second and 5.
All right, but the back is taking you now. All right.
They've been having success throwing that out to Pearson. This time Hamilton changed the defense, and Bailey was in the zone, and just as Paul caught the ball, Bailey was there to hit him.
Okay, we got it.
Defensive line coach Sam Sanders talking to middle linebacker Doug Landry. 4:25 remains in the third quarter. 22-13 is the score. Second and 5. Renfro Over the middle for Jeff Smith, deflected by Gadavekis, and that one was close to being picked off.
I counted 5 white jerseys there.
This program is copyrighted and is strictly for the private use of our audience. Any retransmission, exhibition, or distribution in whole or in part without the expressed written consent of the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation is strictly prohibited. A couple of times this afternoon, I think Renfro's forced his throws.
Well, that's definitely a force. When you're outnumbered 5-2, very fortunate maybe Gadavekis only got one hand up because there was another Hamilton Tiger Cat right behind him. Hardest thing about it right now is getting the snap back against the wind.
All sorts of movement at the line of scrimmage. A high snap, and Illicit gets away a good kick. Bailey fields it at the 31-yard line. Good coverage by the Argonauts as they prevent him from getting any further than the 36 with 3:46 remaining. Bruce Elliott was downfield to make the tackle. Johnny Jones trying to get a first down, prevented from doing so by linebacker Willie Pless and Don Moon.
Forrest looks a lot more relaxed here in the third quarter. He's throwing the ball better, he's making his reads a little better, a little sharper, and he's throwing the ball to the open receiver.
I talked about his confidence. You had an interesting conversation with him following the game against Winnipeg.
Well, you know, he just doesn't work. You know, and he says, what's the difference? He says, I've been around for the playoff games. I may not have played. He said, I'm not going to be nervous one bit. So, hey, who knows?
What was his line? He said, sometimes you have to take what you can.
Oh, yeah. Hey, he's got some great lines now. Tom does not hurt or lack confidence.
He kept that time and picks up the first down, taking the clock down to 2:40 and running. The way things are going, the Ticats are going to be in a very good position in the fourth quarter.
They've only given up 4 points to the Toronto Argonauts, and we're down to 2.5 minutes left. So the Hamilton Tiger Cat defense has done their job, and the offense has moved the football.
First and 10 from the 46-yard line. Johnny Jones gets a hole and drives it close to midfield. Stopped by Willie Pless. I think over on the Toronto side of the field, they have to be just a little concerned over the fact that in almost 2 games now, they have not really scored an offensive touchdown. They have one in the game today, but that was the result of a pass interference call down at the 1-yard line.
Yeah, that's for sure. They had blocked punt and then an interference call on Bailey, put it on the 1-yard line, and he got in from 1 yard out. But they haven't done it. Right now, the Hamilton Tiger Cat line is starting to shove the Toronto Argonauts around. So far, this second half has gone the way Hamilton wants it to go.
Johnny Jones gets the first down to the 52-yard line, stopped there by Rodney Harding. Bruno coming out of sick bay, and many felt his appearance on the sidelines would be an inspiration to the Ticats, and I'm sure it has been.
Oh, I believe that. I believe at halftime, Al just explained it to them very calmly and told them what they have to do, and it looks like they're starting to execute.
This time, Glenn Kolka greets Johnny Jones right at the line of scrimmage. 1:06 is the time remaining. 22-13, the Toronto Argonauts leading Hamilton. The winner to advance to the Eastern Final next Sunday at Winnipeg Stadium.
And I look over on the Argonaut bench, and Danny Barrett has got the jacket off and been warming up, so we may see him come into the football game.
Well, he'll give the Argos a little different look offensively should he come into the ball game, because he does more running than Renfro.
Yeah, he's the kind of quarterback, as we talked about him earlier, he won't have great passing statistics, and he will not throw many interceptions because he will pull it down and go in a hurry.
It was 18-10 at halftime. The Argos have managed just 4 points in the third quarter. The Ticats 3. Forrest has the pass intercepted by Rodney Harding. Harding wisely pitches it out. Darnell Clash winds up with it, and he goes out of bounds at the Toronto bench. That was deflected at the line of scrimmage by Gerald Bayless, and Rodney Harding was there to grab it. The second time that there has been a rather strange interception in this third quarter.
Well, I'll tell you, some days you can't get a break. Here, he's going to throw it over the middle of Johnny Jones, and Gerald Bayless throws up that big left hand, and it just deflects right into Harding. Now, that's his second interception of the season, and he says, the heck with it. He says, you take it, I'll block for you.
He pitched it to Willie Pless, who in turn relayed it to Darnell Clash, but Clash was out of bounds. So the Argos take over at the 42-yard line, and Danny Barrett is in there at quarterback.
That's a big, big play for the Argonauts. Now they need to go to work.
Draw play. Quarterback draw, and Barrett will get almost 10 yards before being stopped by Ben Zambiase.
Well, that'll get you into the ball game in a hurry. You know, you stand on the sidelines a long time and you get cold. It's hard to get yourself involved mentally. And then you go into the football game and immediately carry the football, take a hit the ground, do something, and you're right into it.
Well, as you saw in that statistic, Barrett had a good performance in his game against the Ticats earlier this season. 1 second still remains in this third quarter. Coach Al Bruno is pointing to the scoreboard clock, which of course is unofficial. It shows the time has run out, but the clock continued to run after the whistle had gone, and there was 1 second remaining when that whistle went.
Second down and about a half a yard. I think I'd throw the bomb right now. I'd lay it out here and let Thomas go get it on Bailey again.
Set it. Reset it now.
Let's get goddamn on. Time ran out.
2 seconds, according to Ken Lazaruk. Bruno complaining the time had run out, but that was not the case, Al.
Well, I imagine he thinks back to a situation about a year ago.
In Calgary?
Up in Calgary, when he felt he had 2 seconds left. Second down and a half yard. This is a big decision. I know what I'd like to do here. Take my shot at the end zone and hope I can get it on third down. It's less than a yard.
This should be the final play of the third quarter. They're going to give it to Hudson. He's got a big hole.
I like their play better.
And on the final play of the third quarter, the Toronto Argonauts move into scoring position, leading 22-13.
The Argos continue to lead after 3 quarters after the teams exchanged field goals, but Toronto is in need of a boost, and they make some changes at the quarterback position. Out went Renfro, and in came experienced Danny Barrett. The Argo coaching staff was hoping Danny's experience would prove valuable in the fourth quarter, as he seldom makes mistakes. Would they be right? Stick around and find out.
The surprising thing done in the third quarter is Hamilton, going against the wind, converted 5 of 9 second down chances, and the Argonauts with the wind were 1 of 5. So that's a big, big factor.
Well, now there seems to be another problem with the scoreboard clock. When time was blown in and whistled in by referee Ken Lazaruk, the clock did not start. So now they have to have it adjusted, and they move it down to 14:57 remaining in the fourth quarter.
Al Bruno's walking over to have a talk with the timekeeper.
Al must be feeling that CFL timekeepers are conspiring against him. Well, Scott Oak was eavesdropping, so perhaps he'll be able to advise us as to what was taking place at the timekeeper's bench.
See, I like this better. Just put it back to 15 minutes and start over. That's what they did. That way you don't have to worry about it.
First down. Barrett looking to throw. Won't get a chance. He is stopped at the 15-yard line by Ben Zambiase.
Good job of coverage downfield. Alvin Bailey on Gene Thomas tried to go down and break right at the flag and turn around for the football, but Bailey was sitting right underneath it. So Barrett, as we said earlier, he'll pull it down and go. Take no chances.
Zambiase limping as he heads back to that defensive huddle of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. He came into the game with a hamstring problem.
Well, I know Ben Zambiase well enough to know that he'll be in the ball game till the end if there's any way possible.
Second and 9. Barrett, Smith at the goal line, has it knocked away. An incomplete pass.
Well, we've said many times, when you run the ball into the middle, Paul Bennett, that's his area. Now, Paul might have lost a step speed-wise, but he can still hit, and he put a hit on Darrell Smith. You know, that's like that story, Don. You talk about a receiver. How come when they catch the ball and they drop it at the same time the defensive back hits them? I heard it explained one time. Look at this. Just as the ball arrives, here comes Paul Bennett. Bang, knocks it loose. Guy said, well, it's a lot like coming out of a store with a bag of groceries and getting hit with a car. Somehow you just don't care where the groceries go. And that's just about the way it is, because Smith is vulnerable.
Field goal by Lance Chomik is good. And it's 25-13. The Toronto Argonauts in front with 13:49 remaining in the ball game. Bob Obilovich giving instructions to Hank Olisic as to what he wants him to do on this kickoff. An interesting comment by Lance Chomik, who was the hero last week with 6 field goals against Winnipeg. 45 yards is strength, the last 10 yards is technique, and he needed both the 45 yards of strength and the technique for the 55-yard game winner against the Blue Bombers.
Yeah, he's exactly right. You know, you're going to kick the ball hard, but when you're kicking from a long way out, form comes into being. Make sure you do everything right. Come through, follow through. It's just like a golfer. It's not the
Has that been my problem?
Well, it's been my problem. My problem are the clubs and the guy that holds them. But I think Olisic's going to drive this one. He's going to try to just drive it hard, try to get it to bounce on that ground.
Thought I heard Obilovich say something about kick it left. Let's see.
Ooh, nice kick.
Good high kick, straight down the middle. Bailey takes it back at the 10-yard line. Oh, got hit by Doug Landry.
Well, that was a great special teams effort by Doug Landry. He flew through the air.
Landry, the ex-Hamilton Tiger Cat, enjoying this moment.
Boy, look at this. Woo. Well, here comes Bailey, and here comes Landry.
A reverse angle look at the hit by the tank. A 15-yard return by Bailey. It's 1st and 10. Porras continuing at quarterback at the 26-yard line. It bounces in front of Steve Stapler. 13:22 is the time remaining. 25-13 the score.
Well, he made the right read. He had a man inside, and he sent Jones in the flat, and they're covered. That hole has to open up. He just didn't get it up. It was in the ground.
3 interceptions have been charged against Porras today. 2 of them of the strange variety in the 3rd quarter.
Yeah, some days it's like that. I mean, when you throw it in the guy's hand, that's one thing, but when they get tipped around, the defensive linemen start getting a little bit upset you a little bit.
2nd and 10 from the 26. Porras throwing deep for Stapler. Incomplete. Jake Vaughn and Darnell Flash were both defending against Stapler. Good throw, actually, by Porras.
Well, he got the man coverage that he wanted, and he tried to send Stapler down and go to the post, lead him to the inside. But when you call that man free in the middle, Jake Vaughn does what he's supposed to. Just sit back there, and when that ball's in the air, try to get there. Excellent coverage by Clash.
Porras was looking to the officials, hoping that he'd see a piece of yellow nylon in the artificial turf here at CNE Stadium, but there was no flag. Good kick by Ruoff. Flash chases back to his own 38-yard line and is stopped at the 40 by David Sauvé. 12:47 is the time remaining here at CNE Stadium in this Eastern semifinal. Although there's not much difference in their average kicks, I think Olisic has handled the wind better than Bernie Ruoff.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. Bernie's made his distance up when he's been punting with it, but boy, Olisic, outside that last kick, every punt until that last one was excellent against the wind.
The Toronto Argonauts 5:40 away from a berth in the Eastern Final next Sunday against Winnipeg. They have the ball at their own 33-yard line, and they lead by 13. Fennerty. Good hold, look out! Jim Rockford Brought him down at the 20, but that could be the ball game right there. 56-yard gallop for Gil Finnerty.
Boy, a great job of blocking once again. Dan Ferroni and Chris Schultz, the air side. Watch it. Here comes Ferroni on Zambiazzi. He makes the block. Schultz kicks his guy out, and here comes Finnerty. Stepped away from one tackle, and now it's a foot race. He didn't see Rockford coming from the backside. Rockford finally was able to get to him, but he was looking inside. But a great run. Now they're down to the 21. Could be the play of the game.
Finnerty was looking to his right, anticipating Alvin Bailey having an angle on him, but it was Jim Rockford who caught up from behind. A delay as some debris blows onto the playing field.
Somebody threw a football out there.
4:35 shows on the clock.
Well, that was a well-executed play by the Toronto Argonauts. Bobovilovich is thinking right now with 4:30 left, if we can put this in, we can go up 20 points.
1st and 10, Toronto. At the 21, they give it to Finnerty again. Johnny Lewis stopped him right at the line of scrimmage.
Just a good defensive charge. Got penetration into the backfield, makes the tackle, puts him in that second down situation. So that means Thomas comes in, Kardash goes out.
Now they've been using Kardash as a tight end, utilizing his blocking skills as opposed to the receiving talents of Gene Thomas.
Well, if they overshift all the strength to the 3 receiver side, then they'll run back there, and it gives them a real good blocker. Kardash is an offensive lineman. So that's good, sound thinking, because they've been able to run the football today, which is what they wanted to do.
They swing it out to Tony Johns, but he is going to lose another yard. Ben Zambiazzi came over to make the tackle. And Lance Chomick will come out for another field goal attempt.
You know that quote of Chomick's about the technique and strength. He may be only going to kick this about 30 yards, but he's going to need all the effort he has.
Well, if he makes it, it would equal a record that he tied last week. And it would also require the Ticats to score more than 2 touchdowns if they hope to win this semifinal game. Chomic's kick is good. 6 for 6 last Sunday, 6 for 6 again today. 3:05 is the time left at CNE Stadium. Well, I said that Lance Chomick was 6 for 6 today and 6 for 6 last Sunday. Actually, he missed one, a 51-yard try last week against Winnipeg.
We won't hold it against him.
But in 1986, he set an Argonaut club record with 6 field goals against Edmonton. He equaled it last Sunday and equaled it again today.
Nice high kick.
Les Brown on the return and is stopped at the 30-yard line. The Argos, I think, right now can sense victory.
Well, I'll tell you who did a great job there was Blaine Schmidt, number 79, came down the middle on that kickoff. Wayne Lee, 17, tried to block him, and he just ran over Lee and made the tackle. That's a good job.
The Argos scored 10 points in the first quarter. Hamilton outscored them in the second, but the Argos, going against the wind in the fourth quarter, have come up with 7 points. Ken Hobart has replaced Tom Porras at quarterback. Swing pass to Johnny Jones. He gets one block, but Willie Pless shows up along with Dan Sellers to make the play. There's an injured Argo. Darnell Clash is down.
You know, they like to throw this slip screen. Hobart opened with it the first time he went into ball games. We see Darnell Clash having a little bit of trouble getting up. But Harding now, he sees it. So what's he do? Naturally, when that guard tries to go, he runs out there. He forces him back in. Sure, he gets blocked, but he forced him back into where these guys like that can make the play on him.
Jones unable to hang on to the Hobart throw. Well, with 2:48 remaining and trailing by 16 points, I think Bruno has no other choice but to leave the offense out there. No, he's going to kick it.
It's a tough decision for him. When you're trailing by 16, if you don't make it, you've just about conceded it. And if you punt the football, what you have to hope for is a turnover, a fumble. But if you don't make that, see, there's third. They'd be 3rd and 11. If they don't make it, it's over. This way, they may get a turnover or something. It's a tough one to make.
Darnell Clash, the lone man back. He takes it at the 45-yard line. And he goes down at the 46. Wise decision by Darnell Clash after that 38-yard kick.
He did not need any yards. All he wants is don't turn it over.
The Argos again showing that tight end offense with Jim Kardash in there. They hand off to Finnerty, and Finnerty will be close to another first down. He just keeps on driving with Frank Robinson on his back to the 53 of Hamilton.
Well, and once again, at the point of attack, where they've had success running all day, is Dan Peroni at guard and Chris Schultz at tackle. They opened it up. Watch him. Watch Chris Schultz on Mike Walker. And on the inside, you see Dan Peroni has his man on the ground. Finnerty has the hole, and Robinson has to make the tackle.
Well, Bob Ovilovich said he kept warning his team all this week not to think beyond the Ticats to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers next Sunday. But now I think the Argos can begin thinking about the Blue Bombers. 2:15 remains as Finnerty carries to the 46-yard line.
Good job. Kelvin Brewster blocked down, and Randy Ambrosi pulled around and up the hole, and that's where they go. Doing a good job of eating the time.
Nelson,
down to 2:15.
Great cut, my man.
Nelson,
good luck, man. Back in D.C.
Well, the Argos may be thinking Vancouver, but they've got the Winnipeg Blue Bombers standing in their way. The Bombers also have some thoughts about the West Coast on the 29th of this month. Finnerty fumbles the football, but he manages to get it back. 1:52 is the time remaining.
Well, he got hit good. I couldn't tell just exactly who it was that hit him, but just as the ball was handed off, watch the hit. Here comes the ball. He's got the ball into his gut. He puts it in, but here's the hit. Right here, the right arm comes down through. It looked like 61 Walker. Finnerty's lucky to get it back. But you're happy to get it back, and you're happy to punt the football when you got a 16-point lead and 1:50 left in the game. Got to go after this one, Don.
The clock running, and Olisic will try and take that 20-second clock down as far as possible before calling for the ball for this third down kick. He takes it right down to 1 before it's snapped.
Oh.
And another great kick. He'll angle this one out of bounds. Oh, Treflin made the catch right on the sidelines. And there's more pushing and shoving involving Covington and Landry. Now other players get involved. And Daniels attempts to get in there and act as a peacemaker. Landry lost his helmet as he and Covington were going at it. And there's no need for this. But Landry has been involved in a number of altercations this afternoon. He had a few last week against Winnipeg. Ovilovich trying to calm him down. They said with 1:26 remaining, we've got this one wrapped up. You don't have to get thrown in the ball game.
Get over there.
Penalty flag back at the point of that altercation. Detracting from a great kick by Hank Olisic.
Well, it was an excellent kick into the wind. Now, we've said only one time today against the wind has Olisic not hit the ball just the way you're supposed to. It's like throwing a football into the wind. If you hit it right and kick the proper form, and get it the spiral coming off, you can kick against the wind, and he has done a great job of it today.
Toronto number 39. Disqualification, Hamilton number 79. Take the ball down to the point ball down, and after this is the goal line. First down, Hamilton.
Ken Lazaruk said 79. Hamilton disqualification, I believe he meant 77.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, Grover was in it pretty good with him, and so I would think he would be the guy.
Well, Landry heads to the Toronto Argonaut dressing room. And Grover Covington heads off to the Hamilton quarters. But Landry leaves knowing that he'll be playing again next week.
I'll tell you one thing, there'll be no prisoners taken next week.
That should be a battle royal, Winnipeg and Toronto at Winnipeg Stadium. Les Brown, I believe, was also thrown out. I think that was the other number that Lazaruk referred to in announcing the disqualifications.
Well, he's still down on the sidelines.
So is Grover Covington.
Yeah. Well, they said 79. Don't believe they have one, do they?
They don't have a 79. I think he meant 77, but it appears as though Brown has also been tossed out.
Well, I think they're supposed to leave the bench if you're thrown out of the ball game.
Hobart trying to run from his goal area, and he just got back to the line of scrimmage. Brought down there by Dan Sellers. 1:18 is the time remaining.
Let's throw one up. Come on, guys, hold him. We'll go after his ass if you want him on block.
I think he's going to rush the punter.
Hobart's pass is knocked down at the line of scrimmage by Rodney Harding.
Rodney Harding's played an awful good football game today, as in fact that entire front four, especially Kalka, Harding, and number 99, Gerald Bayless, has done a good job.
Production and technical crew have enjoyed bringing you this semifinal action from CNE Stadium. Bernie Ruoff's punt out of the end zone is taken by Darnell Clash at the 35-yard line. He's just going to run it out of bounds with 1:04 left to play.
Left to the right, 46 count.
There you go.
Well, they decided to go get him again. We heard Bob Obilovich said, we'll go rush him again, and they went after him.
Dave Daniels came very close to getting that Bernie Ruoff kick in the end zone. A 48-yard boot by Ruoff and an 8-yard run back by Darnell Clash. Danny Barrett glances up at that scoreboard clock. It shows 1:04, 29-13, Toronto leading. The Argos can make travel plans for Winnipeg for next Sunday's Eastern Final. Fennerty, who's been a key force this afternoon offensively for Toronto, gets about 2 yards before being stopped by Walker and Sauvé. The clock now shows 59 seconds left to play.
I think you have to give a lot of credit to the Argonaut offensive line today. They have opened up some holes against a defense that's a very difficult one to run against. Chris Schultz, Dan Ferroni in particular, they made a lot of yards to that side, but they have made a good yardage to the other side. This has been a little bit surprising that they could run with that much success.
Well, things looked good for the Ticats when they held the Argos to just 4 points in the third quarter. They had the win going home, but the running of Gil Fennerty made the difference in this fourth quarter. 35 seconds remain.
Oh, I like the chances of the Ticats when they switched ends at the start of the fourth quarter. You hold them to 4 points and everything, and you're only down 9, but you've got to move the football offensively, and that's been the problem. I think they're going to run a 48.
Everybody else heard it. I don't know whether Danny Barrett did.
That's right. Everybody across the country knows they're running a 48 except Danny Barrett, and he's the guy calling the play.
Lance Chomick is ready to kick a field goal if it should be required. 3 times he has been good on 6 field goal attempts.
I wouldn't kick it. 35 seconds. Why worry about it?
And the clock running. Third and 4. The toss to Fennerty. All he's concerned about in going wide is making sure he hangs onto the football.
And doesn't go out of bounds. Well, clock's going to stop anyway because of the change of possession, but with 12 seconds left, I don't think it's going to matter.
29-13. The Argos heading for a date with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Next Sunday, the defending Grey Cup champions put up a valiant effort here at CNE Stadium this afternoon, but the Argos proved to be just a little too strong.
Especially the defensive unit. I mean, Hamilton has not scored an offensive touchdown. The touchdown came on a blocked punt.
Hobart being chased by Sellers. He'll have to run it out of bounds.
Well, they talked about, since they put this defensive unit together, when they got Landry and Sellers from Hamilton, and they put Pleasant, Clash in the corners, and Jake Braun at safety, well, they played very, very consistent football on that defensive side of the ball. And then last week, and then again this week, were they giving up one touchdown? That's not bad.
Well, they refer to the Toronto defensive unit in the Argo dressing room as the exhibition demolition unit.
I don't think anyone would argue with them. One touchdown in 2 games against 2 pretty good football teams.
5 seconds remaining.
Tom Clement scored the one last week on a 1-yard run and none today, so hey.
Steve Jackson carrying the ball on the final play of the 1987 season for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. So it's a 29-13 Toronto Argonaut victory over Hamilton in the Eastern semifinal.